Hi, good morning, everyone. All right. So in the last session, we were trying to connect one Salesforce with another Salesforce, or basically Salesforce to Salesforce integration. But I'm not sure why what happens with this. But we were not being able to do that, right? So let me just try to attempt it once again. Enter the password. I'll try to attempt this once again. Let's see whether we would be able to do this. Hmm. Share the screen once again. Yes. So we are having two separate Salesforce organizations, as you can see. This one is 206 and this one is 208. So in the last session, we made this 208 as the sender, right? Whereas s- hmm. So whereas 206, we make it as the receiver. So I'll try to attempt the whole process what we committed in the last session, right? I'll just try to replicate it once again. Let's see what happens with this. So we are having like 208 and 206, and same is what we have attempted. I'm going to follow the same steps once again. So the first thing would be I'm going to send an invitation from the sender, which is 208. And so for this, what we are going to do, we would first of all would go to the customize, and in the customize, we're going to find the Salesforce to Salesforce, and we are going to check for it whether the setting is enabled or not. So in the last session, if you remember, this was not checked although, so I make it enabled in the last session. So now we merely don't require to edit and enable it once again. You can see that's already enabled. So that was actually the step number one, enable Salesforce to Salesforce. And in both of the organization, you'll have to see for this. So this is, I guess, 206. I'll have to check it inside 208 as well. So I'll go with setup, build, and customize, and then I would be going to find a setting called Salesforce to Salesforce. Now this is enabled, as you can see, it is being enabled in both of the org, right? It is being enabled in the both of the org. Now we would be creating an account and a related contact, but inside in the contact, the email ID should be the email ID of your receiver. So I follow the same step. I'll go to the account. I would be creating one new account over here. I would be creating a new account with the name, let's say SF to SF integration, let's say record number 2, and with a few details like website and like fax and maybe the phone and rating, industry type, and I would like to save this record. So, okay, I'll try to. Uh, Let me get this is done. So there is an approval process which is getting hit. So I'll do one thing. Let me first of all disable that approval process. So let's go to setup and then create. Inside workflows and action, you have an approval process, which is an active state. So that's approval process is actually getting hit. So let me deactivate this first of all. Now I have deactivated. I'll try to repeat the same process. I'll go to the account. I'll create one new account over here that would be, let's say, SF2SF, Salesforce integration. Industry type, I'm selecting as consulting, rating as hot, phone value. Then I would be selecting as a fax value and website this one. And with a basic few details, I would be saving this record. Now we have one account. We have one account record. Let me create a related contact to this. So I would be creating a related contact related to SF record number 10. And this time, the most important part for this is like, it should have the email ID of your receiver. So I'll once again go with this note. The subscriber in our case, the receiver in our case is 206 batch. So I'm just copying the email ID. I'll paste it out over here. And let me now save this. Let me now save this. So this was my step number 2. I have created an account and a related contact. Inside in the related contact, the email ID fields, I have mentioned that the receiver's email ID I have mentioned over here. Now we would have to send an invitation from consumer to the provider, from sender to the receiver. So how we are going to do that? We would add connection tab. We would add connection tab, and from the connection tab, we are going to manage this whole thing. So we already did, right? We already did. So I would go to this connection tab, and this connection is inactive connection. We don't have any option to make it active, right? If you would go with bash 206, and if you try to find out anything over here, like, if you have deactivated, like I did that in the past, right? I did that. So see, there is no option. Once you have disabled the connection, there is no, there is no connection action button or maybe a link over here by which you can activate this. What you have to do is like, simply have to create a new connection. That's it. So the contact which I'm selecting for this one is related to SF. This one is I have created, and you can see it has already taken the account, and connection owner is 208. So I would be sending an invite from here. Once you would send an invite, once you would send an invite, if you would go to the emails, so you would going to see that the email also being, the email is also being delivered. So I'll just open 208 and 206, right? I would just open all this. So as you can see, this one is 206, right? This one is, yes, this one is 206. So once you send an invitation, so that receiver received an email that this particular organization, name of the organization, we put it as my own company, right? So whatever would be the name of organization that appears over here, very obviously. So that organization is trying, to get synced with you. So what we have to do, whether you wanted to accept or decline, you first of all would require on the receiver end, you require to click onto this link, right? And then make yourself logged in. So because it's 206, I'm just trying to log into that. And now you come directly onto the connection tab over here. You come directly on the connection tab. So what we wanted to do, whether we wanted to accept or decline, I would rather accept this, right? I would rather accept this. So once you have accepted, if you would go back and refresh this, so you can see that connection now looks like to be in the active state. Connection looks like to be in the active state. So that was the step, that you send the invitation, and then you send the invitation, and you accept the invitation. Now, once that is being done, this step I have actually done. Okay, you go to the email ID and then open that link. There you would get this all. Now you would go to the sender provider, and you'll have to publish the objects from there. So right now we are into that 208, 208, and just scroll it down. And I first of all would require to publish the objects and the fields which I wanted to expose, right? So I would be doing this, let's say, with the account only, and I would save this. Now I have published an object. Now let me select the fields of that object. So I'll go and edit this, and I would select like account description, account facts, account phone, rating, site, account type, active status, annual revenue, approval status. I'm not taking billing, latitude, longitude, and I'm taking this whole thing, and billing street, and I would be taking something like maybe like industry and ownership, and from here, from his this column, I guess website, would be enough. So with all these, with all these fields, I just have saved this. So now this object and these all 19 fields are being exposed to the to the to that receiver end. So once you did it from here, once you did this from here, you have to go to subscriber, I mean in the receiver, and there you have to subscribe this, right? You publish the object from sender, then you have to go to the subscriber. So I'll go with the connection tab over here, and when I these two connection, as you can see, are in inactive state, I would go with this one. And now when I see my God, all right, I guess I forgot to publish. No, isn't it? Did I did that? Publish them. Right. Oh, sorry. You'll have to go to subscribe. Yes, you have to go to subscribe. This is the only object what has been published, right? So the account you have to map with this account, or you can go with auto accept. That is also fine. And then you would be saving this. After saving, you have to open and do the field mappings as well. So, I mean, these all are the fields of that account object which are going to be get exposed, right? So instead of selecting it one by one, what you can do is like, there's a small checkbox called auto map fields. You can just check it out, and you would require to cross verify whether the fields have been mapped correctly or not. So description with description, facts with facts, phone, rating. I'll just quickly take a glimpse of this so that I would understand. I would make it sure that fields have been mapped correctly, and it seems to be very correct. Once that is being done, I'll save this one. Right. I would be saving this up. So, see, I mean, this was something called as published and subscribe module. So you publish the object and the fields from sender, and you would have to subscribe the same object along with those fields in the receiver. Now, once that is being done, once that is being done, what we can do is like, we can quickly go to that object what we have shared, and let's say there's a record maybe like this one, or I can quickly create a new record. uh, I, I would create a new record, let's say HP laptop I would be creating, and maybe the account number is this one, account site is Nagpur, and type of industry, whatever the fields you have mapped. So data of all those fields is going to be synced, right? And active status. So let me, with all these details, I would going to save this record. Now, this is one of the account record I just have created. Now, what I'm going to do, we have to add one related list called external sharing, right? Because we did this everything in the last lecture. I'm just explaining you, like, so we have to add one related list, and we'll have to add it. We have to see it in both of them, right? I mean, in the senders as well as receiver, the same object object must have that field anyway, that related list. Anyways, so in this external sharing related list, this is that account record I just have created at the name called HP laptop, and now I would be forwarding this account. So you have to select the connection. Where do you want it to forward? So I would be forwarding to this particular connection, and then I would be saving this. Now, once this has been externally shared, you know, so a request has been sent, and that request is in the pending state because we have it. What should ideally happen? Ideally, over here inside in this account, I should see that record. That is what is my expectation. So once I would be refreshing this, and now I'm going with all accounts, and I am expecting to see a record called HP laptop. I just try to look at EFGH, which is not getting sync, and it's happening again. No, it's not getting sync. And this is something which is getting failed even today as well. But why, why? You are now connected to 206. Good. No, this is something else. Anyways, guys, I mean, this is the step. I'm not sure why this is happening. GH. All right, I'll do one thing. I have so many others account. I'll just try to do this with some other batch. Maybe this is something related to 206. So I'll do this offline first of all. If I get succeeded, I'm going to replicate once again this, right? Anyways, today still we are having the same issue because from our end, everything seems to be good. Is there anything in the connection tab? It's nothing. Just a moment. We try to disable all the rules over here. Maybe let me see whether do we have any trigger for an account. Yes, we do. Sometime, because uh, you have a rule in place that might also bring this out. Just give me 1 second. I'll try this last time. Otherwise, I'm going to do this online. I would be disabling every rule on account, whatever is there. Account inactive, account inactive. Just trying to disable every rule what we have in place for account object. And I'll try this once again. Let's see what else we have on account. Lead, position, opportunity, no workload. What about process builder? And the account, and account. This one is inactive. This one is inactive. This one is also inactive. All right. So there is no process builders. There is no workflow. And triggers I already have disabled. Let me attempt this once again. I shall try this once again and let's see for this account 206. I'm saving this. Now let me go to the account and let's try to refresh this interface. So still we haven't received that. Anyways, I'll do this offline with some another organization. Maybe this organization is having certain issues. I would try this with something else. Otherwise, I'm also going to do one thing, because this has taken much time. 2 sessions are literally, has been invested into this. So I'll do one thing. I just find out that session, for 206 batch. I probably have, yeah, this one. So what I'm going to do would be like, I would be sharing this into your drive, Salesforce to Salesforce integration. So, I mean, for that particular batch, let me just try to find it. I would mute it. And maybe over here, if you would see, if you can see the steps, I'm following the same steps, right? So this I'm doing with 201 and so when you go to the destination one, inside in the destination, see, you find that record. I'm just showing you the output of that. I would be sharing this session. You just watch this, go to that. So this is that destination account, and there is that account what we have shared. And if you could see if you could see one thing, this message. So that account record, whatever the record what you have shared, that is being highlighted like this. The account is externally shared and it was received from this particular organization. Name of the organization also appears over here. To your company by Salesforce to Salesforce connection on this particular date. So, this is like how it actually being displayed. So this account, which we have open in the destination org, because you can see it's a Mozilla. So this an information message that immediately pop ups like this account is externally shared. So I will do one thing. I'm not sure why this is happening. We are following the right step. We are doing it very correctly as we have did this when I did this several times. So we are following the same steps. There's nothing which I am missing it out. I guess this is something related to the orgs. Maybe it's a problem with R uh, or maybe it's a problem with the destination or what we have selecting, right? So there might be something happening in between, and that's why we are not being able to see that. So because we already have tried this twice, I don't think there's any sense to repeat the same thing and not going forward. So what I'm going to do would be, I would be sharing this session. I would be sharing this session, which was a successful session for this. So you go and watch this, right? You go and watch this and understand this topic. The steps are same. Only thing is like, I was not able to show you the final outcome of this, which you can see it from here. All right. So I'm going to upload this session onto your drive by today. Now, by tomorrow morning, we would be going to start with JSON. Let me give you a brief introduction so that I could directly jump onto the other parts. What is, first of all, is a JSON? The full form of JSON is JavaScript object notation. All right. Let's say there are two persons. There are two persons. One of them, let's say, is Indian. The another one is, let's say, Chinese or maybe Japanese. And the person who belongs to India, he knows something like, let's say he only understand Hindi language, whereas the person who's from Japan, he only understand his own language, Japanese. And in this circumstance, they obviously cannot interact with each other. Why? Because the language is a barrier for them. They won't understand what each other is saying to, right? So very obviously, what they are going to do, they are going to hire a person in between, and that person would have an idea about both of the language, which actually becomes a language translator, a mediator for them, right? And the story is very obviously, I don't have to explain you every step that Hindi, this person would going to understand Hindi and translate into Japanese. And when this person is same time something, he's going to take this, he's going to understand that in the Japanese and then translate this into Hindi. So this is very obvious step you can understand. I'm just trying to make you understand whenever there are two separate environments with their own language. Let's come to technical point. Whenever there are two separate environments, see what we are learning something called as integration. Integration is all about connecting Salesforce with other environments, external environments, third party systems, external systems, whatever. There could be so many different names for that, right? Integration is all about this. Integration means connecting our Salesforce environment to some external environment. So whenever there are two separate environments with their own form of language, when we talk about Salesforce, we know that Salesforce work, every program what we are creating is inside in the Apex language. You are going to learn something called as LWC as well, Lightning Web Component. So this everything, whatever, or maybe the queries what you are returning, they are not SQL, they are SOQL, Salesforce Object Query Language. You are performing DML operation, but that DML belongs to Salesforce, data manipulation, right? Data manipulation. So everything you are learning so far, they are implemented into a language which belongs to Salesforce. If it's a program you usually have written inside in Apex or LWC, if it's a query, It is mostly in SOQL or SOSL, Salesforce Object Search Language. I hope you have learned that. That was there inside the videos which I have shared to that Visual Force programming videos. The last session of that, that the last session is completely focused on SOSL, Salesforce Object Search Language. Like you can give 100 SQL queries. That's a governor limit. The SOSL governor limit is 20, maximum 20 SOSLs you can give, not more than that. Go and learn that as well. Don't skip because they would ask this in the interview. SOSL, Salesforce Object Search Language. And that's a self-study portion I have given it to you. And it was there in the last video of your Visual Force programming. You go and learn that. Anyways, so Salesforce have its own language. If it's a program, maybe it is being written in the Apex or LWC. If it's a query, maybe that an SOSL or SOQL. If it's a DML or something, so it's a DML, data manipulation. And maybe like, if Salesforce is interacting, let's say a system, Salesforce is interacting a system, it's a weather map system. Now that weather map is created purely on Java. That weather map application, या postal pin code application, or there might be certain others. There are so many of them. पहला सेशन जो मैंने लिया था उसमें मैंने इंटीग्रेशन को काफी अच्छे से डिस्क्राइब करके दिया था आपको क्या होता है इंटीग्रेशन का मतलब वाकई में. Now these are two separate systems with their own languages. How would you make an interaction with them? क्योंकि देखो अगर आप यहाँ कोई क्लास लिखते हो तो वो एपेक्स में रहेगा, यहाँ अगर कोई क्लास लिखी हुई तो वो जावा में है. How would that is even it's possible that ये दोनों सिस्टम आपस में फिर कैसे बात करेंगे? तो there must be certain mediator in between them which understands which understands both of them. तो इसीलिए एक रूल क्रिएट किया गया इंटीग्रेशंस के लिए, एक यूनिवर्सल रूल क्रिएट किया गया कि देयर वुड बी वन कॉमन लैंग्वेज which is being used for all sort of integration. That means if you wanted, if you wanted to, for example, if you wanted to convey some message to this person, you first of all, would convert your language. जैसे आपकी एपेक्स उस लैंग्वेज में आ रहा हूँ उस पर, उसके बाद में फिर वो आगे जाएगा इस तरह से. तो दिस इज अ कॉमन एग्रीमेंट दैट हैज बीन डन. प्रीवियसली दैट वाज एक्सएमएल. काफी वक्त पहले ये एक्सएमएल हुआ करता था, एक्सटेंडेड मार्कअप लैंग्वेज. काफी समय तक ये एक्सएमएल रहा. इंटीग्रेशन दो तरह के होते हैं, रेस्ट और सोप. एपीआई दो तरह की होती है, रेस्ट एपीआई और सोप एपीआई. वी आर गोइंग टू लर्न रेस्ट एपीआई. ठीक है. और सोप एपीआई भी होता था. सोप वॉज प्योरली बिल्ट अपॉन एक्सएमएल. ठीक है. तो एक्सएमएल क्या हो गया कि एक्सएमएल धीरे धीरे आउटडेटेड हो गया. आउटडेटेड होने की बहुत सारी वजह थी. एक्सएमएल मतलब एक लाइट वेटेड और हैवी वेटेड थ्रेड होती है. क्या होता है मैं समझाता हूँ आपको. जो हैवी वेटेड थ्रेड होती है वो ज्यादा समय कंज्यूम करता है प्रोसेसिंग के लिए, और ज्यादा समय लगता है ट्रांसफरिंग के लिए पैरामीटर्स, टोकन्स पैरामीटर्स के लिए. तो पहले एक्सएमएल यूज करता था. एक्सएमएल के साथ काफी सारे ड्रॉबैक्स होते थे. ये हैवी वेट थ्रेड होती है. हैवी वेट थ्रेड होने का मतलब ये होता है कि इट वुड रिक्वायर मोर टाइम फॉर टू परफॉर्म ऑल दिस टोकन एक्सचेंज एंड पैरामीटर एक्सचेंज ऑथेंटिकेशंस, और इसके साथ में एफिशिएंसीज के काफी सारे इश्यूज आ गए. इसके बाद में एक लैंग्वेज डेवलप की गई जिसको बोला गया जेसन, जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नोटेशन. जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नोटेशन. तो जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नोटेशन ये हर चीज whenever it performs something it perform in that in like everything inside JSON is text. First of all, everything inside JSON is text. तो ये जेसन का सबसे बड़ा फायदा होता है. और रेस्ट एपीआई जो होता है, देयर आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ एपीआई, रेस्ट एंड सोप. सोप कंप्लीटली बेस्ड फॉर एक्सएमएल. तो एक्सएमएल जहां आउटडेटेड हुआ तो सोप भी आउटडेटेड हो गया. तो आज आज 99.9 और 100% सारी एपीआई जो है वो रेस्ट पे काम करती है. ठीक है. आई जस्ट फॉरगॉट द फुल फॉर्म ऑफ रेस्ट. हम आगे में आएगा अभी हमको, है ना, एज एंड व्हेन वी गो डाउन वी आर गोइंग टू सी द फुल फॉर्म ऑफ रेस्ट एंड सोप. मैं भूल जाता हूँ. सो आज की डेट में जितनी भी एपीआईज हम लिखते हैं वो सारी बेस्ड होती हैं रेस्ट पे. और रेस्ट जो यूज करता है वो होता है जेसन को यूज करता है, जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नोटेशन. तो जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नोटेशन इज दैट लैंग्वेज. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ये क्या है, अगर इफ समवन वुड आस्क यू व्हाट इज जेसन, हाउ यू कैन स्टार्ट, देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ थ्योरी हैज बीन रिटन ओवर हियर, है ना. आपको जाना है, आपको पढ़ना है, इसको पढ़ना है आपको. बिकॉज मैं जो दे रहा हूँ दैट इज जस्ट एन इंट्रोडक्शन पार्ट. हो सकता है उसमें से काफी सारी चीजें हैं जो यहाँ लिखी हुई है और मे बी मैं नहीं बता पा रहा हूँ आपको, लेकिन आप पढ़ेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा. तो जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नोटेशन जेसन is that language. ये एक language है first of all. You know, it's a language like C++, C programming, Apex, Java. In the same way, JSON is also a language. It's a notation. JSON is also a language, which is primarily used while integrating two systems. इसका सबसे ज्यादा इस्तेमाल कब होता है? When you are integrating two different systems, maybe of same technology, maybe of two distinct technology. जब आप दो systems को आपस में connect करते हो and you are trying to sort for certain integrations, right? Maybe with two similar technology system or maybe with two distinguished technology system. That time JSON is being used. अब JSON किस तरह से काम करता है? Like for example, थोड़ी बहुत terminology से, but you'll have to understand this, right? देखो, JSON stands in between. JSON always stands in between. JSON यहाँ पे रहता है. This is what is a JSON. Now, let's say कि हम Salesforce को, this is my Salesforce and this is certain external, let's say Java or SAP or any other system, and we are trying to integrate something. So let's consider we are transferring certain parameters, right? We are transferring certain parameters. We wanted these parameters to get transferred to this particular external system. And I mean, after transferring those parameters, maybe this external system, would generate a response and we would going to receive that response. So what I'm saying, it's something like, request and response system. This is what request and response. You are requesting certain parameters and you are requesting it from Salesforce. When this external system would receive that request, it would going to generate a certain parameter, some responses based on that, and you would be receiving those responses. So it's a request response system. A problem is like, everything over your end would be in the form of Apex, and everything over here would be in the form of Java codes, JRE file. So how this connection is going to be established? You would be sending in Apex, this wouldn't understand. This system would send everything in Java, you wouldn't going to understand that. So that is why everything, would this whole exchange of information and ideas and everything would not going to be done in your local language. Rather, you would follow a pattern, a standard for this, and that standard is JSON. So what we are going to do in this case, how this everything is going to be happen. See, understand, there are two terminologies and we would going to cover everything around this. I'm just trying to introduce. ऐसा मैं सोचो कि आज ये terminology use कर रहा हूँ, बाद में नहीं आएगी. नहीं, अभी जैसे मैं soap और rest के full form नहीं बता पा रहा हूँ आपको, मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है, लेकिन हम जब आगे पढ़ेंगे तो वो आ जाएगा. In the same way, the one which I am explaining you right now, this is also going to be get covered. ठीक है, तो चलो हम मेजरली वी वुड बी गोइंग टू फोकस ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट. ठीक है, हमारे लिए अभी इंटीग्रेशन में इतना समझना ज्यादा जरूरी है. देखिए, ध्यान से समझो. सो व्हेन वी वुड ट्रांसफर समथिंग, व्हाई वी आर ट्रांसफरिंग? बिकॉज वी आर इंटेंडेड टू ट्रांसफर समथिंग टू द एक्सटर्नल सिस्टम. हम कुछ भेजना चाहते हैं एक्सटर्नल सिस्टम. यहाँ पर एक एक्सटर्नल सिस्टम खड़ा है, उसको हम कुछ तो भी भेजना चाहते हैं. वी वांटेड टू ट्रांसफर सर्टेन पैरामीटर टू दैट, राइट? वी वांटेड टू ट्रांसफर सर्टेन पैरामीटर टू दैट. Problem is that system does not understand Apex language, LWC language, or a language. What we are going to do? We would be converting this, we would be converting this from Apex to JSON. We would be converting this from Apex to JSON. Before transferring the parameter X, Y, Z, before transferring that parameter, before transferring that request, before transferring that token, there might be several terminologies for this. More importantly, before transferring that message to external system, we would convert it from Apex to JSON. We would convert it from Apex to JSON. And this process of converting Apex to JSON is called as serialization. There is no required, it's not necessary to write it down. ये notes में आ जाएगा, घबराओ मत, because we are going to write down programs for serialization. So don't worry about this. Just understand, listen, सुनिए सिर्फ. The process of converting Apex into JSON is called as serialization. अच्छा, फिर उसके बाद में फिर ये JSON में गया आगे, फिर उसने समझा बुझा और वहां से फिर एक रिस्पॉन्स आता है, बट वो रिस्पॉन्स भी JSON में आता है. वो रिस्पॉन्स भी किस में आता है? JSON में आता है. जेसन में आने के बाद आपने उसे रिसीव तो कर लिया, लेकिन अभी वो जेसन में है, आप जेसन फॉर्म में उसको डिस्प्ले नहीं कर सकते। तो द प्रोसेस ऑफ कन्वर्टिंग जेसन टू एपेक्स इज कॉल्ड एज डीसीरियलाइजेशन। प्रोसेस ऑफ कन्वर्टिंग Apex to JSON is called as serialization, and process of converting JSON into Apex is called as deserialization. So majorly we are going to construct two sort of programs. हम integration को बहुत काफी धीरे धीरे से काफी आराम से समझते हुए करेंगे। आज आपने एक टर्मिनोलॉजी सीखी कि there are two types of technologies, there are two types of APIs, application program interfaces, web services, REST API and SOAP API. SOAP के बारे में थोड़ा सा आप और जो है होमवर्क करिए, इसलिए नहीं कि आपको यूज करना है, सिर्फ इसलिए कि आपको इंटरव्यू में अगर उसके बारे में कुछ बात करनी है तो आप सोप के बारे में थोड़ा सा होमवर्क करें आज। गूगल पे जाएं, सोप के बारे में पढ़ें, एक्सएमएल की दिक्कतें पढ़ें कि व्हाई एक्सएमएल वाज, कंपैरिजन लें आप जेसन और एक्सएमएल का। प्लीज टेक दिस इन द असाइनमेंट, प्लीज डू दिस। आप अपने लिए कर रहे हैं सब, मेरे लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं। इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू क्रिएट एनी इंप्रेशन ऑन मी, दिस वुड बी रिक्वायर यू व्हाइल यू आर गिविंग द इंटरव्यू। जेसन और एक्सएमएल को कन्वर्ट कंपेयर करें, रेस्ट और सोप को कंपेयर करें, to have that idea in your mind. Okay, what is the difference between REST and a SOAP APIs? What is the difference between JSON? Or rather, what are the advantages of JSON over XML? तो ये सब करें। So the process of converting Apex into JSON is serialization. We would going to write program for this, and the process of converting JSON to Salesforce Apex is called as deserialization. We are also going to write a program for this, right? Then we're going to see what is an inbound and outbound integrations. How would you perform an inbound integration? How would you going to perform an outbound integration? So there are a lot of the things which you are going to cover. There would be a lot of the things which we are. Then we would also going to understand how we can use workbench tool for this. How we can use workbench tool for integration. How we can use Postman. I wanted every one of you to install this Postman into your device, your laptop, your desktop, or from wherever you practice. Install Postman app. There would be certain examples, but at the end I would going to explain them from Postman application. That is again an application what we generally used to perform the integrations. All of the example that we are going to do, most of the example I would be going to cover them from Workbench. Every example, maybe there were 10 programs, let's say, all 10 programs I would be going to explain you with the Workbench. Then let's say 5 of them, I would show you then how you can execute this from the Postman, and rest 5 would be going to be assignment for you. Postman and Workbench, these are the two common tools what we use to execute APIs, application program interfaces. These are the common tools what we use to execute web services. So I'll make you to practice in both of them. So जरूरी नहीं, हमने जब पढ़ा था हमको तो सिर्फ वर्क बेंच बताया गया था, पोस्टमैन आई हैव नेवर यूज्ड। बाद में मैंने काम करते हुए अपने से सीखा उन चीजों को, लेकिन आपकी केस में वैसा नहीं रहेगा। मैं आपको दोनों टूल सिखा दूंगा ताकि आगे चल के कंपनी में अगर आपको पोस्टमैन पे काम करना पड़े तो आपको फिर उसके बारे में आइडिया होना चाहिए। ऑलराइट, सो इस तरह से पूरा हमारा प्लान रहेगा इस मंथ का, एंड दिस वुड टेक एटलीस्ट दिस मंथ, ये मंथ लग जाएगा इसको खत्म करने में, बिकॉज इंटीग्रेशंस के प्रोग्राम बहुत लंबे होते हैं। एंड मोर ओवर, वन मोर थिंग, वन लास्ट थिंग, I wanted every one of you to go and finish your Visual Force lectures, because front end यहाँ पे जो मैं बताऊंगा सारे प्रोग्राम्स में वो विजुअल फोर्स प्रोग्राम के रहेंगे। आपका लाइटनिंग स्टार्ट हो चुका है, आप चाहें तो बाद में उस फ्रंट एंड को लाइटनिंग से कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो अभी फिलहाल तो मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि आप सभी लोग विजुअल फोर्स प्रोग्रामिंग के जो मैंने सेशंस आपको दे रखे हैं उसको कंप्लीट कर लीजिए, बिकॉज आने वाले प्रोग्राम्स में, अभी तो नहीं लेकिन हाँ आने वाले प्रोग्राम्स में भी एक हफ्ते बाद जो फ्रंट एंड हम बनाएंगे, मैं तो सिर्फ उसको कॉपी पेस्ट करने वाला हूँ और मैं थोड़ा बहुत एक्सप्लेन कर दूंगा आपको। तो जो फ्रंट एंड हम यूज करने वाले हैं वो विजुअल फोर्स प्रोग्रामिंग का फ्रंट एंड रहेगा, ठीक है। तो उसको आप कंप्लीट कर लीजिए और आगे चल के आप चाहें तो उसको लाइटनिंग पेज से रिप्लेस कर सकते हैं। सो दिस इज व्हाट इज द प्लान, द रोड मैप ऑफ दिस मंथ, वी आर गोइंग टू सी दिस, एंड दैट लेक्चर ऑफ सेल्सफोर्स टू सेल्सफोर्स इंटीग्रेशन मैं वो अपलोड कर देता हूँ पुरानी बैच में से आज ड्राइव में। ऑलराइट, दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडे गाइस। यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन, प्लीज गो अहेड एंड आस्क इट। If you have any question, anything to know, please ask me. No questions? Then thank you so much.